How do we pay for it?
We don't. The government does.
Well, what do you mean? What about inflation? What does this mean, Andy? Don't we need to raise taxes? Don't we need to go through these complex gyrations and calculations to raise taxes the way that the bill did last time? What about pay-go, Andy? What do you mean? How do we pay for it?
Every time that something happens in the United States that causes the federal government to have to put money, like a natural disaster, like wildfires in California, right? Like floods that happened, in Katrina in New Orleans. Anytime like something like that happens, isn't it strange that somehow the Federal Reserve can go into the green room and search through the cushions of the couch in there and find $2 trillion to pay for that, and nobody says, well, who we're going to raise taxes on, right? Every time your federal government spends its new money into the system, and it's basically just marking up the accounts of the participant banks that have accounts at the Fed in a positive direction. It's all just keystrokes. It doesn't mean anything. It's not coming from quote unquote income tax dollars. You didn't pay for it. Federal government did. Everything it spends. There's no reason to ever ask that question.
So the piece that I'm waiting for when this text comes out, we know that they're going to have to go through this complex funding model because the rest of us are ignorant about funding at a federal level. So they're going to have to do that the way that they did last time. But I really don't want you as an advocate to get stuck on that, because that is a deflective conversation and it's meant to stall it. What you need to understand on a fundamental level, and I did this with my congressman, and I tell you, his face went white and his jaw dropped. And I had witnesses when he asked me, how do we pay for it? And I'm like, the same way we pay for your insurance. And he was like, what? I'm like, federal appropriations. Think about it this way, Medicare for all. If we did Medicare for all tomorrow, which we can, your property taxes would drop overnight. So if you're a homeowner and you're paying property taxes, between 40 and 60% like that is reduced.
On top of the other savings on a macroeconomic level that could be realized as well, because if what Medicare for all does, and this, I am not saying anything that isn't true, because I live in a country that has free healthcare, right? And then the way that the system works is that the doctors, the nurses, the pharmaceutical countries, they all basically work for the Canadian government, right? The Canadian funds those projects. It is not run by the government. It is funded by the government, right?